Okay guys, got a video we want to do today. This is Mel Capone and Carmelo today. We got a special guest today. We got Carmelo with us today.
Hey.
Carmelo, what do you want to say to him?
Hello everybody, this is my first video that I'll be in. I might be in others, so yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Alright, so today we're going to talk about the differential, building the differential, your rear end, just setting it up and getting it set to a point where you don't give away and rob yourself of power. So you want everything to be free. You want everything to be sound. You don't want any situations where you can strip out your gear or anything like that, or you don't want to rob yourself of free power. So the first thing we'll do is let's just take a look here. You can see what I've done here. I've taken the hot bodies, the Mugen, I think it's a Mugen gear, and I've removed everything except for the teeth. And I made a aluminum hub to make my rotating assembly lighter. So you remove all that metal from the gear and you replace it with aluminum. So now you got a lighter rotating mass. All right, and you can see I run the small bearings, say a 1/4 by 3/8. And I used to run ceramics. These may be ceramics. I don't know. And my axle is titanium, so that's also for lighter rotating mass. And you can see here my coupler. This one's been used before. So now let's just take it apart. And while I do that, I'll cut you off and I'll put you back on. Let me take some screws out. Okay, guys. So you can see I removed the screws. I just didn't want a video, waste time, waste footage, screwing a screw. So I remove the screws. I remove them in a cross pattern. Now I'm just gonna pop open my case. There we go. So just now you can see how it looks on the inside. I'm sure all you guys are familiar with the differentials. So you can see that the bearings is actually in a bearing carrier. And that is because this case comes from a truggy, and it's not designed for the application I got it for. So for this axle, this case is not designed for a 1/4 inch axle. So I had to use a carrier to convert the case diameter, which is like 16 millimeters, down to a 1/4 inch to be able to accommodate a 1/4 inch drive shaft. So rotating mass and drag racing, rotating mass is crucial. So I didn't want to run a giant bearing, and I didn't want to run a giant axle. So in order to get down to what I'm trying to accomplish, I had to come up with this carrier. We came up with a carrier. So a little history on the direct drive. The direct drive, we were all running, back in the day, we were all running 2-speed dragsters. And Bill Paso, Eric Johnson, some of the older guys, when I say older, some of the guys that were more seasoned into drag racing back in the day, they came up with the idea of running a direct drive car. And so that eliminated the transmission of the 2-speed, and we just went with basically a single speed but direct drive. So eliminate the belt and eliminate the transmission. So when they went to that route, everybody started using like a truggy or a truck differential case. What's your question, Carmelo?
What's a truggy?
A truggy is just a vehicle, like your vehicle that you first started racing with. That's a truggy.
Okay.
All right. So you can see my ring gear. You see my pinion down in there.
Yes.
So I'm gonna pop this out. And you can see what I actually have is spacers on top of the axle, in between the bearing and the ring gear. There's a spacer on this side as well. And what this spacer does, and so let me back up a little bit. I think I should be with my I think these bearings are supposed to be on this way. Yeah, when I built that case, I learned something since I built that case, and my bearings should be this way. This is the way I run them in my car now, I believe. Let me see. Yes, that's the way I run them in my car now. they actually go this way. So when I built this case originally, it's a backup case. So if I'm at a race and I hurt my differential, if I'm in between rounds and I don't have enough time, I have this case pre-built so I can just pop it in my car and ready to go. So this is a backup case. So since I built this case, I've learned that the correct orientation should be the bearings on the inside opposed to the outside. So I'm gonna turn them back around like it is so I don't have to reset my clearances. So number one, you want your bearings to be nice and free. You should have smooth rotation. It should be a smooth rotation. All right. And what I do, these bearings, I soak them overnight. Basically, I take and blast out the grease that's in there with some brake cleaner or something, and then I'll soak them in some high quality oil, and I'll soak them overnight. That way, it kind of impregnates and gets inside the bearing really well. And that's just what I do. That's my preference, to free up the bearing more. You don't have to do that. It's just choice. So there again, I start by, first of all, let's go to the ring gear. This is where I start. When I build my differential, I start with the pinion gear, and there, I'm not going to take it off, but there is shims. Well, I might as well take them off. Hold on. Okay, guys, I just had to run and grab a separate wrench, so I can take this set screw out. So there's my coupler, and here's the outside bearing, and then there's the inside bearing, and in between this pinion and the bearing is a shim. So I'm setting the depth, my pinion depth, in relationship to this gear. So I basically shim this until I get this pinion to sit on the gear where I want it. And I like mine sitting up, where I have as much contact patch between the gears as possible without interfering with this hub. So the first thing you want to do, set that pinion depth by shimming that. What you do is you pop that in, you hold it, and you put your ring gear and bearing carriers, and without even having any shimming on the axle, you just pop it in and you see how deep it sits. And if you look, you may not be able to see that down in there. I need light. Hold on again. Okay, so I had to turn the light on so you guys can see down in there. And you can see this gear is rusted because I haven't used it. But if you look down in there, so it's probably best practice to set this set screw on there so it can hold the pinion gear where it should be. But just for this demonstration, I'm just going to push down on my gear and look at my pinion depth. And you can see my contact patch amount right there. That's how much. And actually, it's gonna decrease a little bit, or my contact patch is going to increase as I tighten down this case. When I tighten this case down, it's going to shove this down in there a little more. So you don't want it dead on it with not any bolts in the case not bolted together. You don't want it dead on it. You want to leave a little bit of play so that when you bolt this case together, it's gonna crush down a little bit. What's your question, Carmel?
What are bolts?
These are screws.
Oh.
These right here are screws or bolts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's what you want to do. You want to get that pinion depth set. Next, you want to start shimming this side of the. So what you gonna do is try to set your gap now, your pinion gap. So the gap between the teeth of the pinion and the teeth of the ring gear, you want that mesh to be correct so you don't strip it out. You don't want it too close. So if you have it too close, you'll have it where it won't rotate free and you'll be robbing yourself of horsepower. So there's free horsepower in this setup. So for now, I'm just going to pop this this coupler back on. That was a good question, Carmel. When you asked what are bolts, that's a good question to ask. If you don't know something, It's always a good question when you ask. And so, guys, when you tighten this, I'm not squeezing this together. If I squeeze that together, I'm creating drag. So I want that to be a nice, just a little snug fit. You know, I'm not going to tighten this down real good now, but you want this where it's not so tight that it's dragging real bad. So, you know, that's no rotating mass, so it's really hard to spin it, but that's free. That's nice and free. You can see, spinning nice and free. No friction. So the first thing you want to do, let's just imagine we haven't set our correct shimming yet. I'm taking these shims out. So the first thing you want to do is just concentrate on getting the correct spacing here on this side. So you'll keep putting shims in or taking shims out until you get that correct gear mesh. And so, like I said, when you tighten this thing together, this is going to crush down in there. Just now, I just pushed it down in there even further. So that original plate, you can see it's already decreased. So you want that where you can feel like a little tick. So you want just a little bit of tick. Like I'm squeezing this, holding this tight. I got like a little play. Some people use paper. Back in the day, they take a sheet of notebook paper and they set it in between there to create that shimming. This just is something you're going to have to play with until you learn how to set your shim. So once you get that set, that's going to determine how much shim you need on this side. And that's what I've done here. And I want to upgrade my differentials to use stainless back here, because I'm finding over time that this is just aluminum piece right here. This is wearing down, and over time I get I get a little bit of wear and I get play in my differential. So that's something I'm going to upgrade for next season. So when you get that set, you put that in. Now you got this where the purpose of this side is so that this gear doesn't slide over here and then decrease the space you got here and cause drag. So this sets your depth, your gear mesh. This controls it so that it doesn't go any further in. And also it locks this differential in where it can't go in and out. It's locked in there. So once you do that, and keep in mind, like I said, when you bolt this together, it's going to push these bearing carriers down in the case more. So once I screw this in, the amount of play I have is going to decrease. So you want to screw it in, check it, see how much play you got. So right now, you see that looks like a lot. I would consider that a lot of play. But it's because I don't have this crushed in. Look at that. I consider that a lot of play. But if I was to take my screws and crush this in, that's going to decrease. So guys, this was a pretty short one. That's basically it. You want shimming to control your gap. You want shimming to control your depth, and use blue Loctite on this screw, and use blue Loctite on this screw. And that's something I forgot to cover. You know, you're gonna play. Every time you move to change this gap here, you're gonna unscrew that and then move the gear so that you control that. And what I like to do is I like to measure how far my axle's out. So you can see I got 18 millimeters on this side. When I go this side, I should have pretty much the same. There's 18 millimeters. So that way you keep your axle. You got the same amount of axle on both sides of the car. And all you do is when you're trying to set this gap, you just unscrew that and slide it in and out. All right, Carmelo, what's your question?
What's an axle?
Axle is this shaft that's going through all the way through the differential to the other side.
Oh,
that's the axle. You know what goes on the axle? Your rear wheels.
The wheels.
Yeah, your rear wheels mount to your axle, and that's where your rear wheels sit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Interesting, yeah. Okay, guys, that's it. I hope that's helpful to someone. Maybe someone struggled with setting up their differential. I don't definitely have the best differential. I almost guarantee you that Brent Davis, Josh Howard, Lou Marbury, I almost guarantee you those guys have a better differential setup than I do. Probably something more sound. Because I'm noticing, like, if I hit the wall really hard, this axle will shift, and those bearings will pop out, and I got issues. So it's something I need to improve. But currently, that's what I know, and that's what I just shared with you guys. Hope it helps out. All right, have a good one. Be good to someone who's not good to you. Be kind to someone that's not being kind to you. Be as good person you can, and enjoy life. Life is short. Enjoy. All right, guys.
Bye.
All right, Carmelo, you signing off too?
Bye, everybody. See you next video.
All right.